asking the questions you want answered, exploring government policies and how they impact you. We are delving deeper.
Good evening and welcome to Delving Deeper. I'm your host, Kimberly D'Souza. Joining us this evening is the Minister of Sport and Community Development, the Honorable Shamfa Cudjoe. Minister Cudjoe, good evening.
Good evening, Kimberly. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for having you back again. The pleasure is all mine. Now, before we begin, I wanted to get into the Dylan Carter. Dylan Carter would have represented us really, really well at the recently concluded FINA World Cup. I mean, he cupped 9 gold medals. What are your thoughts on this?
I have been so impressed by Dylan Carter and so many of our athletes. This year has been a remarkable year for athletes and our coaches, the entire sporting fraternity in Trinidad and Tobago. Dylan Carter's accomplishment goes to show the perseverance, the commitment, the dedication of our athletes. He is one of the athletes that didn't do too well last year, but this year you could have seen that he just put his all into it and poured out his heart and soul. So I was able to see him perform or compete at the Birmingham Games this July, August for the Commonwealth Games. And after that, he continued to give us his very best. So I'm very pleased by his outstanding achievements at the FINA Games. And it goes to show that our athletes remain committed. I think it has been a good year not only for Dylan Carter and for Assad, but for other athletes like Jerry Richards. We just saw Nicholas Paul blazing a trail at the Commonwealth Games. He was injured thereafter, but a couple of days ago I see that he's back at it, getting ready to get back out there. So it has been a good year, a remarkable year, if I may say, and we look forward to more to come as we continue to work hand in hand with the sporting fraternity to deliver and to win and to really achieve all that we possibly can in sport.
Now, Minister, Dylan is one of the athletes benefiting from the Elite Athlete Assistance Program. First of all, tell us about the program and, more importantly, the deadline for submission.
The Elite Athlete Fund has been in operation for over 10 years, and it was meant to run for only 8 years. And here we are many years later, I think even 14 years later, still operating the fund and providing assistance to athletes. Of course, as you stated, you must apply. If you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance. Elite athletes get funding from a host of different sources, whether it's from the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee, from the parent bodies, from other areas within their sporting discipline, and we, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, provide grant funding through regular grant funding and through elite athlete funding. Elite athlete funding caters to the athletes who are in the top 40 in their respective disciplines. So we have athletes like Dylan Carter, Jerry Richards, a host of our athletes. We have at least 40 elite athletes across the many sporting disciplines in Trinidad and Tobago. The policy requires the athletes to submit their applications between the months of January and March in the first quarter of the year, and we then start the distribution around April, May, but they must submit between January and March. So right now, as we speak, there are athletes who are getting ready, pulling together their documents, getting their invoices and their quotations. Anything that you as an athlete need to take care of your body, to train so that you can be podium ready and you can perform well in your respective discipline, whether or not you're competing for that specific year. As long as you're in the top 40 and you are still an active elite athlete, you're able to apply. And even if you're not in the top 40, you can apply for regular general grant funding, and athletes and parents can access the application forms online at the Ministry of Sport and Community Development's website, under services, under grants, and then you select the specific grant that suits your specific interest.
Yeah. Now, Minister, over the past few months, we would have held a host of regional and international events, for example, the CPL. Of course, we know that we're coming out of the pandemic, and so the restrictions have eased. Is this a sign of what we can look forward to in 2023?
Yes. 2022 has been a bumper year for us in hosting sporting activities. We started this year with hosting the Under-19 ICC Cricket World Championships. We shared that hosting with Guyana. Earlier this year, we hosted the Pan Am Age Group Aquatics Competition, where we welcomed swimmers from all over the Americas to participate in competition at the National Aquatic Center in Couva. We recently hosted the Caribbean Cycling Championships. We hosted games for CONCACAF qualifiers and so on in Tobago at Dwight York Stadium, and we look forward to hosting many more activities throughout the year. We in Trinidad and Tobago take pride in developing a sporting hub for the region where athletes can come and train, and where we can host different regional and international competitions. This year we're getting ready to host Commonwealth Youth Games next year. It will be the first time for us as a nation to host the Commonwealth Youth Games, as athletes, over 1,000 athletes from over 79 countries are going to make their way to Trinidad and Tobago to participate in these games, which are so important to our youngsters between the ages of 14 and 18. And we continue with our work in this year, July, August. We are hoping to host CPL once again in 2023. We meet with CPL next month, very soon, within the next 2 weeks actually, to firm up and to start discussing those arrangements. So hosting is very important to us. It promotes sport tourism. It allows us to showcase Trinidad and Tobago to the rest of the world. It gives our athletes and our sporting fraternity different opportunities that they would not have had if we didn't host. And it allows so many opportunities. The trickle-down effect is wonderful, from hotel rooms to providing economic activity for those who support the sporting industry. So it has been a very good investment for our government over the years to invest in the National Cycling Center in Couva, the National Aquatic Center where we hosted Pan Am this year, the Racket Center in Tacarigua, and we are working with the international sporting organizations of these respective disciplines towards making Trinidad and Tobago a hub for development in those different disciplines. So we are working with Trinidad and Tobago Cycling Federation along with UCI to make Trinidad and Tobago a satellite center, and we are far advanced to the point where we'll be meeting with UCI in the upcoming weeks to firm up those arrangements. We have already been working hand in hand with International Tennis Federation. They helped us last year to rebuild our structure, or to revise our structure at Tacarigua, so we can be a regional center for development for the sport of tennis. And we're working with FINA to do some work in making our National Aquatic Center a regional center for development for the Caribbean and the Americas. So the work goes on, and we continue to develop our infrastructure so that we can be of good service not only to our national athletes and the sporting fraternity locally, but also regionally. We take our role seriously within the Caribbean and the Americas. so that we
Minister,
can
I
maximize.
like that you mentioned infrastructure, because I know the last time you were here, you were saying that I think UDCOT would have recommended that the Gene Pear complex be demolished and that work take place on other stadia, for example, Hasty Crawford. Can you provide us with an update on this?
We're working hand in hand with UDCOT and Sport TT to refurbish all different sporting facilities throughout Trinidad and Dwight York Stadium in Tobago, because in Tobago, sport development is under the Tobago House of Assembly, so the facilities in Tobago are under the THA. The only one which is under the remit of the central government is the Dwight York Stadium. Now, as it relates to Gene Pear Complex. Gene Pear Complex is at least 40 years old, and over the years we have seen serious deterioration of the facility. Of course, the very fact that it's over 40 years old poses some challenge as it relates to whether or not it's structurally sound, and what can actually be done there towards bringing it back to its former glory. There is a school of thought that the facility needs to come down. It's not structurally sound, it's not safe. But we are waiting the final report from UDCOT as it relates to Hasty Crawford Stadium, which is in better condition than Gene Pear Complex. It is pretty much structurally sound. It is over 40 years old, of course, and of course today's sporting world require a certain type of technology and so on with our facilities, so that we can be competitive and attractive as it relates to hosting games, as our NGBs go out there and compete with other countries to host games. We think that doing some work on Hasty Crawford will help, and since that it is structurally sound, so right now the government is pursuing doing refurbishment work on Hasty Crawford Stadium during this fiscal year. We are also working with UDCOT and Sport TT towards finalizing the scope of work for Larry Gomes and Manny Ramjan Stadia. Those two stadia, we're going to start them in this fiscal year also. And of course, we are getting ready to tender to have works done for Atto Bolden Stadium, because some of the games to be held during the Commonwealth Youth Games are going to be held also at the Atto Bolden Stadium, because we are creating a cluster in Cuba, a cluster in Tobago, and we want to have some of the activities also at Hasty Crawford, at our newly refurbished Hasty Crawford Stadium. I think we can safely say by that time, offering to all Commonwealth brothers and sisters the very best that Trinidad and Tobago has to offer, showcasing our facilities, to invite visitors to come again, and to invite international sporting fraternity to see, hey, Trinidad and Tobago is a place to visit, a place to party, a place to play sport. Yes, so we are really excited about the opportunities and the possibilities as it relates to sport tourism.
Yeah. Now, Minister, I'm going to a topic that I know you're very excited about, Best Village competition, right? Now, there was a 2-year hiatus, and I know that it would have been, included in this year, a different version, albeit. What can we look forward to for 2023?
You're right. I'm very excited about a Best Village program. The Prime Minister's Best Village Trophy competition has been a major part of our existence, of our DNA, of our development throughout the years. It's as old as the country. A matter of fact, in 2023, we'll be celebrating 60 years of the Prime Minister's Best Village competition. And we have seen Prime Minister's Best Village Trophy competition develop into a festival of we. Yeah, a festival of all of us, all that we have to show off, all that we have to preserve, to protect the different talents, different skills in handicraft, in performing, in the culture and the arts. Many of our icons in culture came out of the Prime Minister's Best Village Trophy competition. And next year we celebrate 60 years of Best Village, and that is something we have been looking forward to. So we expect a celebration like no other. Best Village competition has been on hold for about 2 years due to the COVID pandemic. We tried to execute it in a scaled down fashion this year, but the energy and the excitement, the vibration of the Best Village fraternity cannot be cut. Yeah, so we have to come out in all our glory next year. Next year we expand the competition. We go back to what we used to do some 60 years ago. The handicraft courses, the drumming festivals. We want to do something like a Best of Best Village where we honor all those who would have contributed to Best Village over the years, getting the schools involved in the Junior Best Village competition. And we want to reintroduce sport to Prime Minister's Best Village Trophy competition, where we have the Best Village Olympics, the Village Olympics. So those are some of the items that we plan to do next year. A matter of fact, some of it would start this year as we go into parang competition and so on for Christmas, as we do short courses and handicraft classes and Christmas decorations. We then do the traditions of Carnival early next year. So I'm excited because as we move from community to community, Trinidad and Tobago comes alive. And I think nothing else can do that like Best Village. Carnival shows the very best of who we are, but Best Village shows our many sides. It shows the diversity and all that makes us rich and unique. So I look forward to celebrating 60 years of the Best Village Trophy, Prime Minister's Best Village Trophy competition next year.
Now, Minister, your ministry is such a unique one because you have to straddle, sport with community development, yes. Right? And so I'm wondering, what are some of the challenges that you face at the ministry? And as we look forward to the next fiscal year, what are some of the projects we can look forward to? Let's do challenges first.
Challenges. Well, it's a huge ministry with a very major mandate to empower communities, to help to identify and develop talent and skills, to help people within communities to become more self-sufficient, to promote a culture of respect in communities, to promote a culture of business and entrepreneurship in communities. And we try to use our different programs to do that. As it relates to sport, we have to support the sporting fraternity, the athletes, the coaches, the managers, the administrators. Everything costs money. And of course, we have to stretch the dollar. We have to stretch the dollar. And that is difficult not only for me or for us in the Ministry of Sport and Community Development. I think the same could be said for other ministries, for the Tobago House of Assembly even. Because we look around the country, there are specific facilities to be fixed. There are programs which need support, and we do so to the best of our ability with the finances provided. We also have to share some responsibility because there are only a certain number of facilities for which the ministry is responsible. For instance, within your community, your city corporation is responsible for your recreational grounds. So it calls for partnership. It calls for working together. It calls for cooperation. So everything isn't a money problem. Some of it has to do with coordination, with management, and as simple as it may seem, with cooperation with the relevant bodies taking responsibility for the facilities under their watch and reaching out for help whenever they do need help. So it's a labor of love, yes, but we have some very dedicated people within the sporting fraternity and in community development who extend their hands, their heads and their hearts to help ever so often, and that helps to make the load lighter. But there's so much more that we can do if we work together and if we partner. Of course, the budget this year, or should I say the allocation this year to the ministry is $760 million. Mm-hmm. Sounds much, but $460 million, which is more than 50%, goes to recurrent expenses. That's paying salaries and wages, managing the different facilities under our watch. We have over 300 community centers in Trinidad and Tobago. And that's just on the community development side. We have the sporting facilities to maintain, and it costs a lot to maintain these facilities to keep them going. So under recurrent expenditure, we also cover elite athlete funding, grant assistance to community groups, because we have to promote not only sending or a more experienced or qualified athletes out to perform regionally and internationally. We have to get out in the communities, or we have to continue getting out in the communities and working hand in hand with sports serving bodies to identify new talent at the community level, and not necessarily to medal, not necessary to medal or to get to the podium, but also we have to maximize the full potential of sport to help develop our constituents and our people throughout Trinidad and Tobago through sport, personally and professionally, teaching groups in the communities to generate economic activities through sport, utilizing sport to keep youngsters off the street, to redirect their energies. And we're working with Ministry of Education, for instance. This is a new project towards expanding the reach of sport in schools, developing talent at a younger age. We're working also with the Ministry of Sport in Jamaica through the Jamaican High Commission to partner with them in developing sport in schools, starting with a specific focus on athletics, and very soon we make our way to Jamaica to conduct some meetings towards that partnership and cooperation.
Now, Minister, while you mentioned a substantial portion will be going to recurrent expenditure, what other programs can benefit from the allocation?
Development programs, we have a budget of roughly $300 million. And that would be spent on refurbishing our swimming pools. We have 9 swimming pools, 9 public swimming pools in Trinidad right now. We have 6 that are in dire need of refurbishment. Some refurbishment works have already started at facilities like Hokie, Diego Martin. We also have La Hoqueta under our watch, Siparia, where works are going to be done. We are currently doing an assessment at Cuba Swimming Pool. Cuba Swimming Pool could be about 50 years old, and it had some structural damage. So we are working towards getting a proper assessment, and within the next 2 weeks we should know what exactly is going to happen with Cuba Swimming Pool. Can we really refurbish what is there now? Do we need to build a new one? But we are working diligently towards delivering on that promise to utilize sport at the community level. Therefore, we are improving the facilities within the communities, the ones which are under our watch. That allocation also covers programming at our community centers, refurbishment of our many community centers, building new community centers and community spaces. A very important part of our work agenda comes from the directives of the Community Recovery Program. In July 2020, the Prime Minister established a committee to treat with the development of East Port of Spain and other areas with similar problems or issues. And out of that came the Community Recovery Report, which called on the Ministry of Community Development and many other arms of the government to place specific focus on developing residents of these areas in providing programs to treat with the issues faced by residents of these areas, and to develop infrastructure, help them in developing community spaces so they have places to meet and places to run their recreational programs towards building and strengthening those communities. Beautiful project coming out of that initiative or that mandate is Empower TT. And Empower TT focuses on developing boys and men, spending that time, providing that platform for them to share their experiences, for them to learn from other experienced men, for mentorship. We have over 100 professional men from throughout Trinidad and Tobago who are volunteering right now to hold the hands and to guide these youngsters. We have invested in life skills training for them, having men's zone discussions where we would transform a community center or even government plaza into a men's zone where men and boys come out and they talk and they embrace each other and share stories and help to lift each other. It's a pretty new project, and I'm pleased with what I'm seeing in the project. We had 391 youngsters registering for the project, and they started doing the talks. And when we got to the level of doing the life skills training, we had 260 youngsters on board being trained, introducing them to the world of work, finding out what are they interested in, and offering them introductory level training and certification through MIC and other entities throughout the arms of government, to help them to redirect their energies, to refocus, to pivot, and to set up themselves in such a way to contribute positively to their personal development, to the development of their families, to rebuilding their communities, and making a meaningful contribution to the social and economic development of Trinidad and Tobago. So it's not only about building centers, it's about building people also, working with each other. All that is nation building. So the work that we are doing in the Ministry of Community Development, I must say again, goes beyond community centers. Most times people come out and they ask for a community center. And yes, a community center is an important part of our development and who we are. That's where we meet, that's where we share ideas, that's where we have best village competition practice. That's where so much happens. Yes, but we have to get beyond simply the physical infrastructure. We have to spend more time talking, interacting, consulting, developing the capacity of all human beings and providing opportunities for them to grow and to see themselves as valuable in the whole ecosystem. And that's the kind of work that we're doing. I'm pleased with what we're doing with men, and hopefully this first installation is successful and we have many success stories to tell, and we can do it again and again to make that change in the lives of young men, not only in East Port of Spain, but throughout Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. Minister, I love the passion that you were speaking with about that particular program. And so I wanted to know, what other programs in your ministry are you most proud of?
I'm also very happy about With These Hands. With These Hands is another new project. With These Hands, we seek out from all the different communities, persons who believe they have a skill, they can do something with their hands, whether it's to make soaps, candles, oils to cook, interior, decorating, agriculture, and we start off by introducing them to entrepreneurship. How do you register a business? How do you get financing for a business? How do you use social media to market your business? We also have a mentorship side of that program where we have experienced persons in mass making, in mass production, in customer service, those who are experienced cooks, people from Sasha Cosmetics, coming in and working with these upcoming community entrepreneurs. And we work with them, with NEDCO, to teach them entrepreneurship and the education related to helping them to monetize their skills. We also teach them to sharpen their skills and then how to launch out with their own business. That is going to be a part of our global Business Week. That's going to be taking place, Global Entrepreneurship Week. It takes place in November. We're going to be pushing it a little into December. Next week, Tuesday, the participants are going to be graduating. And I think the exciting part of it, we are going to select 5 winners, the most outstanding students. We're giving them $50,000 each towards a seed funding towards developing their businesses. And that's the kind of work that we're doing that I'm excited about. Last year, we trained over 9,000 citizens in developing some skill online, whether it's mixing drinks, doing makeup, doing hair. We also have some of those programs being done in the community centers. This year, we are going to be doing it virtually and in the community centers also. But every year for the last 60 years or so, the Ministry of Community Development have been helping to develop the skills of citizens and getting them certified. There are many businesses, like you go to the Santa Cruz market on a Saturday morning, and the other community markets, you see people making swizzle sticks and leather craft and so on. All of that came out of the courses and programs offered at the Ministry of Community Development. So here we are saying, if we're teaching so many people, so many persons per year to develop their skills, then that must turn into businesses. So we've added entrepreneurship education to the programs. We've added marketing and so on to help them. After developing the skills, you must make an earnest and honest attempt towards developing a business, and we're working hand in hand with all participants.
Yeah. And so as we look forward to 2023, Minister, what can we expect from the ministry?
From the ministry, well, COVID protocols have been rolled back. Everybody's outside. Outside, it's nice. So we are partnering with community groups to have community sporting tournaments. We did a dry run in the July-August period through Sport TT and doing sport camps in the different communities. We'll be taking all different or various athletes to the schools to help to develop that attitude, that culture of physical recreation and fitness and activity throughout our school system. We're partnering with the Ministry of Health to do TT Moves. We are already a partner, and we are trying to promote at least 30 minutes of physical activity each day for everybody, the children and the adults. You would see when we build our new community centers, and the new community centers that are being delivered now, we have a gym area to encourage entrepreneurship in physical fitness at the community level and to get the community folks to come out and to participate. We're also building computer rooms or internet cafes along with the community centers. It's a part of our digitalization mandate as a government and in the Ministry of Sport and Community Development. We continue with our programs for in coaching, developing coaches and getting them certified, because not everybody who knows how to play a sport has what it takes to be a proper coach or to be a qualified coach. So we're helping them with their qualifications and their certification. And for administration and management, we have the capacity building workshops. We have the athletes development and welfare workshops where we teach athletes the other side of the business. It's not only about on-field development, but off-the-field development, also teaching them money management, teaching them personal hygiene, how to dress for success, how to manage stress, and so on. So the work goes on. There are so many areas that we can chat about. We have Sport TT doing its work, providing technical assistance and working with national governing bodies so that we can develop athletes who have what it takes to achieve the highest levels of achievement within their specific sporting disciplines. We have the National Commission for Self-Help Limited under our watch, who help persons who need assistance in rebuilding their homes, senior citizens, and those who are less fortunate. We also do some community projects through National Commission of Self-Help in providing community spaces and helping preschools and even churches through the National Commission for Self-Help. And we in the ministry, we have the mediation unit who help in solving some of the issues and the discrepancies that happen at the community level, and providing assistance and support to families and community groups before it gets to a place where you have to go to court. We try to do some of that work to to ease the stress or to ease the tension within communities and to promote peace in communities. A very important part of the work being done by the mediation unit is training in parenting. Because it's not only about working with young people, it's about teaching parents how to parent, how to work with their youngsters, how to strengthen the values and the morals within their household. We have a specific seminar or workshops for co-parenting, couples who have decided, well, they want to go their separate ways, but they still have to care for and raise children, and teaching the average parent to deal with teenagers, how they think, how they work, and to develop a culture of respect. So I think the work that the mediation unit is doing is exceptional. Many of our programs are used as templates throughout the region. Right. And we are working with other entities throughout CARICOM to develop their mediation systems also. And we are also looking at what Jamaica is doing with their parenting workshops and committees. Through mediation unit, we also have men's groups where the men in the communities come out and they have their conversations and discussions and help to guide each other at the community level. And this year they are going to be having some workshops and seminars to get more men on board, and hopefully we could expand from 6 men's groups to probably
many more.
many more. So it's hard work, but it's also hard work, and as we go on, it's a labor of love because you get to see people's lives changed. There are many challenges. There'll always be challenges. But once we are willing to partner and everybody do their little bit towards building yourself, building your family, building your community, then Trinidad and Tobago will be a better place. I don't have all the answers as Minister for Sport or Minister with responsibility for community development, but there are other people out there who do. And if we put our heads and hearts and minds together, then we would be in a much better position. Nobody is going to come from outside to save us. We have to save ourselves. We have to give back because much has been invested in us over the years. So with community development in mind, we have to do our little bit to develop each other, develop our communities, and build our nation.
Now, Minister, I can't have you here without asking when they met the FIFA World Cup, right? And one of the amazing things about the FIFA World Cup is that we actually have a Trini representing on the world stage. I'm sure if you heard about him, Caleb Wales, right? Yes. So he is going to be in the capacity as an assistant referee, and I wanted to hear your thoughts about that.
I'm most excited to see members of the sporting fraternity get that far. I've seen FIFA done its bit, or should I say a lot, in providing training and many different activities for coaches. I've seen female coaches coming out of Tobago, referees coming out of Tobago, coming out of Trinidad. And I'm really excited by that. To see our very own on the international stage, it makes us all very, very proud. Now, as it relates to sports and sports for all, this goes to show that it's not only about athletic excellence, where you're actively playing if you're a player, but there's so many different areas, whether it's in being a referee, in being a coach, in being a manager, an administrator. We've seen journalists, we've seen so many of our nationals excel in sports. And I want to bring that home by stating that there are so many avenues for jobs, for wealth creation, for income generation through sport. I spent last weekend with the N3As and parents of young athletes, and we're trying to tell them academics and athletics can go hand in hand. There is room for everyone in sport. So we cannot see participation in sport as a way of pulling children away from academics. They must go hand in hand. It's not only about physical running up and down. There is work to do in every arena. Therefore, there is space for everyone in sport.
So before we close, just final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I think now is an interesting and exciting time for the country, not only for sport and community development. I think also in the government, for all of us as Trinbagonians to chart a new destiny, to paint a new picture, to make the very best of this post-COVID period. We are not totally out of the challenging period, but we are seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. We're outside playing again, moving around again, and there is new energy. There's a new level of excitement all over, and it's time for all of us to put our shoulders to the wheel and make our contribution. There really is no limit. The sky is the limit as to what we think, what we can accomplish, what we can work together to do. Throughout the many ministries and different units of the government, you see new and exciting programs coming to the fore, utilizing technology in a wonderful way, mobilizing vulnerable groups to get on board. So I think we are seeing more people, more hands on deck towards building a better Trinidad and Tobago. For instance, in the Ministry of Sport and Community Development, we took the chance and we added a Grow It Yourself kitchen garden competition to Best Village. And nobody would have seen that or thought of that before, or would have thought it would get to this point where you have hundreds of nationals participating in this competition, building a kitchen garden out of a little piece of land outside the kitchen window, or we do hydroponics as a part of that program too. So the possibilities are endless. You have school children, families participating. We also introduced the Girls Run TT initiative, where we said, you're home for COVID, get up and do something and run a virtual race by yourself, wherever you feel like, but just cover 80 miles. We started that during COVID, and it got a lot of women and girls up and moving. And today, I can proudly say that that project is being nominated for President's Award for Innovation in the Public Service. So I want to say the possibilities are endless. There's so much that we can do. Anything you can think about, once it is positive and just, I'm sure you will get support for it. And there's an energy and a new wind of excitement, yes, that's blowing across Trinidad and Tobago, of positivity. Never mind, there are lots of distractions in the background, but if we remain focused and put our hands, head and heart towards the light, then Trinidad and Tobago would be a better place for us, for our children, and for our children's children. So keep the fire burning. Yes, run the distance, and we will make it if we try just a little harder, as Stalin says.
I think that's a really, really nice way to end this segment. Minister Cudjoe, thank you so much for coming in and sharing the information with us. This is not just the second time we're going to have you again, but for this time, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Join us at the same time next week for another edition of Delving Deeper. I am Kimberly D'Souza, and on behalf of our entire crew, have a good night.